you know, because I just understand from my own experience of going through these challenges and various courses. I'm actually going to exit this out. Is that it's quite hard to, if you're not focused, to actually keep with it till the end of the 21 days. Um, but and I also realize that part of, you know, manifestation and part of creating the reality that we really want to create is finding ways to be able to stick it out when, you know, our ego and our personality and the world out there sort of you know, distracts us and diverts us and sabotages us. You know, one, we're going to come across, you know, times when we're going to sabotage our own success because there's a belief within us that says that we're not good enough, or we can't be successful, or we don't have the time, or whatever that is that has stopped us in the past. And then, you know, you've got all the other, you know, stuff that comes in from the outside. So, you know, the reason why a lot of people don't manifest the lives that they want is generally because it's not easy. It's a challenge. It's probably the hardest thing that you will ever do, is be able to design your life, design each area of your life, and then focus on each area enough so that it actually becomes into manifestation. Because I am 100% I know 100% that if you can design your life to the way that you want, plan it out, focus on it with enough attention for a long enough period of time, that anything is possible. Using the power of visualization, using the power of focus, that anything is possible. But it's the stuff that gets in the way, our belief systems, the outside society, our conditioning, that stops us from achieving those results. So, you know, we all have to answer that question for ourselves. Do we want it enough? Are we prepared to do what it takes to finally overcome those hurdles and, you know, focus on enough time and enough attention to the state where we actually do achieve that thing that we really wanted to achieve? And actually, the point is, if we're not spending daily time on manifesting the reality that we want, we're going to be experiencing the reality that somebody else wants, or the reality that our conditioning has conditioned us to accept, or the reality that the government wants for us, or the reality that we've, you know, created in our minds and that we think we deserve, or that we think that we can achieve. So based on the stuff that I've just learned recently, which funny enough, I've been, you know, we've all, like I said, this is the thing. We are all 100% manifestors. We manifest perfectly 100%. There's nothing wrong with the way that we manifest. The question is, it's not the question of whether we manifest perfectly or not. That's not the question. The question is, do we manifest consciously, or are we manifesting by default? So the next 21 days is really an exploration of, can we manifest consciously, or and overcome whatever those limits are, and keep focus enough in one area of life, and then see tangible results. Because as it was explained to me, which makes a huge amount of sense, and the reason why I started to do this challenge was that, you know, we've all watched The Secret, and we've all heard various personal development speakers speak about manifestation, personal achievement, reaching your goals, goal setting, vision boards, all these different elements. But what really, made a difference for me and sort of brought everything into alignment, brought all these little, like almost like gears in a cog, and also brought them all together, like when something just clicks, was a few of the pieces in the puzzle that were missing that I didn't quite understand. And in the learning of those pieces, it's really brought everything home to me, in a much more clear way that makes a lot more clarity, and it makes a lot more sense. So everything I've been learning is, around the subject of manifestation. As such, I'm not promising anything personally for myself. For you, I can't promise you anything. There's no track record for me to say that I've taken 150 people, or however many it is, through a 21-day challenge, and everybody's, achieved so much and so much and so much. So this is a new experience for me. But what I am going to say is that for everybody that does go through this challenge and spends the time, everything that I will be communicating comes from people that I respect greatly, that makes a lot of sense, and will not be a waste of time. And at the end of the 21 days, I think by the end of the 21 days, if we can stick to it for that long, I think we will start to one, at the end of the 21 days, have enough knowledge and sort of understanding of the process of manifestation, so that we can then carry on into the rest of our lives and carry on that process. Because the main thing that I've come to understand is that manifestation is not something that you can do on a part-time basis. So it's not something that we, in order to manifest something, for example, it requires planning. Two, it requires dedicated focus and attention. And three, it requires work. And personally, in my own life, I have done some planning, I have done some focused attention, and I have done some work, but it's been very, very haphazard. It's been a little bit here, a little bit there. I've learned some stuff and I've implemented some stuff, but in between those moments of action, there's been massive amounts of time and distraction and inaction. And it's come to my understanding and knowledge that in order to, especially in the beginning, as we are manifestors, and especially at the beginning, in order to make something happen that is almost in your mind at the moment impossible, it requires dedicated focus for an extended period of time. And that means daily, hourly work and focus and attention on that subject for an extended period of time. So the metaphor that we came to, or I came to, or that I actually heard, was the metaphor of a gardener. And it made a lot of sense. And this is where it really came home to me, is that the metaphor that there's three types of gardeners. You're either a novice, you're an intermediate gardener, or you're an expert gardener. A novice gardener is somebody who basically doesn't spend any time in his garden. He has a garden, doesn't spend any time in the garden, and you understand what that is, right? The garden is just random. Some seeds might blow in summer there's just a whole load of weeds and brambles and stuff like that. You can't, there's just totally overgrown. It looks a complete mess. It's like a jungle. And there might be some, at the end of summer, there might be some harvest, like there could be some, blackberries or something like that, but it's pretty random. An intermediate gardener who'd spend some time planning, some time thinking about what they want to harvest, sometimes thinking about what they want to create, some time thinking about the plants they want to plant, some time thinking about the whole plan. Sorry, I'm going to mute you guys just for a moment. Sorry. And then also does spend some time in the garden. Maybe it's a couple of hours a week, 3-4 hours a week, some time in the garden, but not an awful lot and not very consistently. And an intermediate gardener also does harvests more than a novice gardener, but it's still a bit random. And then an expert gardener is somebody who plans the garden out meticulously. He thinks about every single part of the garden and what's going to happen in that part. He has a plan for every single part. He prepares the soil. He makes sure the soil has enough nutrients. He weeds on a continual basis. He plants the seeds that he wants to plant in exactly the right place. He learns over time which plants work in certain areas. He learns over time which plants don't work and which plants work together. He waters continuously, or she waters continuously, and is continually working in the garden on an ongoing basis. And at the end of the year, an expert gardener always has an amazing harvest. So this is the metaphor that we're going to work with in the subject of manifestation, because manifestation is exactly the same thing. Your so that goes back, like how that sunk in for me was the fact that manifestation is amazing. Like we are 100% manifestors, and we can manifest anything we truly want, and we truly visualize, and we truly put our mind to. But manifestation doesn't happen instantly. There's a lag of time, and obviously the bigger the manifestation, the more energy and focus and attention needs to be placed on it. So for example, if I'm going to manifest something that's really easy, like a dinner or something like that, it takes a certain amount of time and attention. It's the thought process. Okay, I have to plan, I have to buy the ingredients, I have to read the recipe, I have to make sure I get the right amount of ingredients, and I have to put them together. I have to put them together in a certain way. I have to keep focused. I have to make sure attention that I don't lose the time. I don't overcook it, etc., etc. There's quite a lot of focused attention. Then I get the result. But it's not as much attention as if I had to build a house. So if I'm going to manifest a house, I have to still plan the whole process. I have to buy the materials. I have to plan the process, the materials. I have to do a budget. I have to hire the staff. It's going to take a year or 2 years or whatever amount of time. It's a lot more focused time and attention. So the bigger the manifestation, obviously the more time, focus, and attention that I need to place into it. So the other thing about the manifestation is that manifesting, obviously there's a time lag from the moment of the inception of the manifestation. So we think about, okay, we want to earn £10,000 a month. Okay, there's that thought, and then obviously in the time between the process of actually thinking that thought, imagining that thought, and visualizing that thought, and the process of achieving that thought is a time lag. Okay, which depending on the amount of time, attention, and focus can be anything from a short amount of time to a longer amount of time, depending on the person, depending on the circumstances, depending on the amount of focus and attention. This is a reality in our third dimensional reality, which we're experiencing right now. And my understanding, based on various spiritual teachings, is that in other dimensions of reality, whether you believe in it or not, manifestation happens in different ways depending on where you are. So fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh dimension, if you think of something, it happens instantaneously. And so the experience of being on Earth is that we don't have that ability, which is great, because not only can that have a repercussion in terms of we can have a positive result, but we can also have a negative result in that it's great if we think something positive, like we want to earn £10,000, or we want a new whatever, or we want this or we want that. But what if we also have the opposite, which is like a negative thought? We have a negative thought of an accident or something bad happening, and that sort of manifests instantly. So that cannot be so good, because oftentimes we're not totally in control of our minds. We're not control of what thoughts come up in our minds, and we don't want to be able to manifest those instantly. The advantage of that is that we get the chance to ponder, we get the chance to choose, we get the chance to think about what we want to manifest. And then through the process of energy, through the process of focused intention, we get to bring it into reality. So also the other understanding is really clear.
Is there to add to that?
Yeah.
Is there a like I've been attuning to my heart recently and re-listening to my heart and what my heart wants for me to do, and um, it's helped also through doing plant medicine earlier last year,
Mm.
and I want to be able to be a musician and be able to inspire people and elevate the consciousness of this planet by sharing positive music, uplifting music. And my mind can sometimes distract me to stop me from doing that, to to be distracted and to not have the right will and the right way of going about things. But my heart is pure. My heart knows that like you've stepped on this path now, you can't go off it. Like this is it.
Mm.
So is that listening? Is that adding to what you're saying? Like listening to your heart is how you can be as pure and like divine.
That's, personally, I find that the powerful thing is when, because intention, like, this is what came to me the other day as well, is that, inspiration and what you're talking about there, when you have that it was like an inspiration, right? Comes from different parts of the body. Like when you
Mm,
have a thought, it seems to bubble up from inside the body and comes up this way, then comes into the mind, and then the mind thinks it and then lets it go, or you focus on it or whatever. But it comes from sort
mm,
of this sort of area, comes up, right?
yeah.
But when you get an inspiration, it seems to come from another place, and another place, and almost like you feel it in the heart, and then the heart gives it, energy. There's an energy around it when you feel
Mm,
like this is a calling, or this is like something that needs to be shared, or this is like something that you feel it so deep down inside you, um, that it's going to come. Those are the things that they're almost like gifts. They're little, roadmaps. Like it's showing you, you follow this, follow
mm,
this direction. This is the direction of your true self. This is your direction of where you really resonate.
mm,
And and the thing is, if you're given those gifts, you've given those little like diamonds in the rough, you just have to follow it and trust that whatever it's calling you to be or to do is the right thing, and you'll feel it intuitively. It just feels right. It
mm,
feels correct. Even though it makes no sense to the brain, the mind makes no sense. But the mind is like, well, I don't know how to play an instrument, or I don't know any musicians, and it makes no logical sense. There's no logical sense to it. Those type of sort of feelings and inspirations come from a completely different place, and you know you've got to follow them. It's
mm,
in my experience in life that every time I've followed that inspiration, it's never gone wrong. Nothing's ever had a negative result out of following one of those intuitions. It can only be positive, and you never know where it's going to lead. It could lead anywhere. I'll
mm,
give you an example. Is that when I was in Johannesburg in 2000 and yeah, because oh, no, 1994. Yeah, I had I had inspiration to buy a drum, right? And I don't know where it came from. I was just like, I was working for IBM doing software installations. I had no idea what a drum even was. I didn't know any musicians. I'd never played a musical instrument in my life. I didn't know anybody that played drums. I didn't know anybody who played anything. The closest I came to music was dance music. I was really into dance music, but that was it. Like even dance musicians, like DJs, didn't play instruments. But I had this inspiration to get a drum, and I was like, where the heck was that? I had just came down, and then I looked in this Yellow Pages, this book, before the internet, before we could search Google for anything. And I looked in the Yellow Pages, and like, where are you going to find a drum? Like, I didn't even know what a drum was. And I knew, like, you knew it was instrument, but I didn't know anything more than that. So I looked through through the section. Eventually, I found an advert for because I knew it was something to do with Africa, this African curio shop. And then I phoned them up and they said, yes, they've got drums. So I drove out. It was like 2 or 3 hours drive into the bush somewhere in the middle of nowhere, this massive warehouse. And they had all these like African curios and masks and stuff like that. And right in the corner, like some dusty corner, right at the bottom, was this like these little drums, right? Those really crappy drums, the ones that are given like they're selling the tourist shops, like terrible little things. But anyway, I bought the drum, right? I was like, got to buy the drum, bought the drum. I was just following this intuition. And then it happens to be, I got home, I didn't even know what to do with this thing. That the Drum Cafe was this organization that eventually, 10 years down the line, has become this massive organization. But back then, they were just starting out. Nobody knew about the Drum Cafe. Now everybody knows about the Drum Cafe. But back then, nobody knew who they were. And they started their first little drum cafe shop, which is where the name comes from. They put a little cafe and they called it the Drum Cafe because they used to do drumming workshops there. And they just opened. I walked past it when they were like painting the door and stuff like that. And then I went in, and lo and behold, it was a drum shop. And I bought the first djembe from that shop, like nuts, right? I'm like, this,
That's mad.
yeah, literally across the road from my house. And then I started going to classes at this place. And literally 5 years down the line, I'm making a living from playing drums and teaching people drumming. And then I start this company, which it becomes like one of the top 3 companies in the UK for teaching team building drumming. I teach thousands of kids every year, teach thousands of adults, perform in front of thousands of people, all because I followed that thought of I've got to buy a drum. That has happened to me so many times. The reason why I'm doing this is because suddenly I had the inspiration about manifestation. Like I've listened to manifestations and I've thought about manifestation and I've thought about goal setting. And every time I do a course, there's a little goal setting section in it. And I'm like, yeah, I should really do that. I never do. And but it's been following what it does. The stuff follows us. Um, but I've never I haven't been doing it. Then all of a sudden, this like sort of inspiration comes, and I'm just like, I've got to do it. I just can't, I can't not do it. And it just comes down with such force and such energy. And all of a sudden, like I woke up, I wrote a 5-page essay in the space of 10 minutes. I don't write. I cannot write. I'm like the worst copywriter in the world. I can't put stuff down on paper. And in 10 minutes, I've written like 5 pages. I'm like, that is weird. That is just unusual because it just doesn't happen to me.
It's really strong, like the energy, like I really feel from the emails as well. I've only recently signed up to One Song Away recently,
Mm.
but like I really can feel the potency of your energy to want to, have that drive and to share like what you're doing, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
So
Yeah, when I'm clear about something, I am really, really clear. There's like a clarity there, which is great because a lot of the time I'm not clear. A lot of the time I'm like, oh, just doing whatever, just trying to make it happen. But when you get that clarity and you get that like this is has to happen, this is meant to happen, this is my purpose, this is the reason I'm here. Right now, it might not be tomorrow, but right now it's really clear. It's you just got to go with it. You just got to follow it. So yeah, if you get a message to become a musician or learn an instrument or something like that, you can never go wrong. Just follow that as much as possible, and just follow whatever and wherever that takes you. It might take you to, anything could become possible. I've heard people like who've done ayahuasca sessions. The very next day, they picked up a piano, started playing piano like Mozart. Seriously, it just opened up.
Seriously,
Yeah, it just
what?
opened up some type of skill or thing that they had from a previous life or something in them, and they just
Yeah.
started playing piano. They've never played piano in their lives. All
Mm.
of a sudden, they're playing piano.
Well, this is the thing that I was speaking to one of the shamans, but one of the people within the circle about, and they were talking to me about actually doing medicine and making music or creating with the medicine. And they said when that happens, or when that, yeah, when you allow that to happen with Mother Aya, she guides you to become and to make some of the best music the world has ever like listened to. Just because you're in that flow state and there's miracles, there's magic unfolding, and yeah, it's that. That's what I look forward to, like eventually to be able to, invite that within my life. Um, so yeah, I would love to learn more of a musical instrument, like to
Yeah,
enable to me
that's
to
the
inspire
thing.
me.
Yeah, just be open to it. Just come to it like a child. Just pick up stuff with no expectation, no, like I have to do this or I have to be good at this. Just like come from to it with a completely playful attitude, a completely playful way of being. And in that way of being, just being completely playful with it, taking whatever opportunity you can to discover, to learn, to play, to explore. Just let things unfold with no judgment, take the mind completely out of it. No expectations, you've got no history in it, so you've got nothing to look back and judge yourself on. Just be completely open to playing with it as much as possible, and you won't go wrong.
Mm,
Okay,
yeah, amazing. Thank you.
cool. So yeah, so in terms of the mirror principle goes like this: everything that we're putting out into the universe has to come back to us, because we are projecting reality from ourselves. I'm projecting all of you now. I'm projecting this computer. I'm projecting everything around me. Reality is just a mirror that's reflecting the projection back to me. The thing is that if you're projecting a reality that you don't prefer, you can't look out to the mirror and expect the mirror to change before you accept that. It's so hard to put. You can't expect the mirror to change unless you change first, because the mirror is reflecting your own sort of expression. So if the mirror is reflecting something that you don't prefer, it only means that in the past, because remember, reality reflects everything, but it reflects in a time lag. So everything that I'm experiencing now is something that I envisaged, I planned, and I actioned in the past. So now I'm experiencing the reflection, the actual experience of it. In order to change the reality in the future, the reflection in the future, so that I can experience it, I have to envisage it now. I have to action on an ongoing basis, and I have to action in a very consistent way. I have to keep the vision in mind perfectly, because if I start, like what happens often is that we start off with the vision in our minds of the reality that we want to create, and then we get distracted, and then the mirror gets confused. So in order to create the reality in that specific way, we need to envisage it the way we want it. write it down, plan it, take all the action that we need to, and be consistent enough to allow the 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 reflection to catch up with us. Because if we keep on changing our mind and not putting in the action and then doubting ourselves, the mirror can't reflect back that. It reflects back confusion. It reflects back the doubt. It can only reflect what we're putting out. So that is the secret. The trick is become really clear on the reality that we want to manifest. Really, really clear to the utmost degree in whatever way possible, through the power of visualization, through the power of vision boarding, through the power of writing it down, through the power of pictures, whatever it is, become really clear through the power of emotion. The more emotion, the better. Become really, really clear. Okay. So that's what we're going to create into the future. And then keep on choosing it day in and day out until it becomes a reality. Remembering that the bigger the vision and the bigger the manifestation, the more time it's going to take, the more focus, and the more we're going to have to stick with it before it becomes into reality. Again, coming back to the example, if we're going to make a dinner, okay, I can't think about making the dinner and then I forget to go buy the ingredients. I forget to turn on the cooker. It's not going to happen, right? Exactly the same way with reality. We decide to make that dish, we make the plan, we go get the ingredients. There's a whole lot of steps between here and actually eating that proper dish that we need to keep focused on, that takes consistent action before we create the results. At any stage, if we're getting confused, we're getting distracted, it's not going to happen. Or it's going to come back in a way that we didn't quite envisage. We envisage a perfect dish. We can see it in the pictures on the cookbook. We've got the plan, and then it takes consistent steps and action in order to create that reality, to get the result. So that's the same thing that's going to happen with us. But what happens is with us, because we can't keep focused enough, and then we doubt, and then we listen to the news, and then our brother or mother or sister or friend tells us that we're never going to achieve that, or we change our minds. We never get to experience the reality that has come from into our future, because it's a time lag. So that's the power of manifestation, is learning the process of keeping consistent action and belief and focus, so that our reality actually gets a chance to manifest. And there's so many different tips and tricks and stuff that we can use in order to give it the best chance of actually coming true. So there's whole ways that we can work with the power of psychology, with the power of persuasion, with the power of the energetic power, with the power of visualization. There's so many tools, tips and tricks that we can keep in order to keep that focus. That, if we learn those tips and tricks, that we can implement them and apply them to anything that we want to create in the future. And that's why in this course, we're going to start off because there's so many different areas of life that we can choose to create, right? And what we should do, what we can do, is really look at all these different areas of life. We've got spirituality, we've got health, we've got wealth, we've got business, we've got relationships, we've got contribution, whatever the other ones are. Like there's a whole list. There's actually about 12, probably more if you break them down further, but 12 generally areas of life where we can look at those areas of life and go, okay, in the area of health, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I? Just very simply, like a very simple test. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd like to be healthier. I'm not quite as healthy as I think I could be. It's because I don't exercise, I don't eat properly, blah, blah, blah. So I'm probably about a 5. If I look at the area of wealth, okay, I'm not quite achieving my goals and I'm not quite there. I'm probably about a 6. You look at all these different areas of life and then we choose, okay, what is the area of life that we most want to focus on in the next 21 days? Because we could choose 3 or 4 different areas, but I think if we chose one area and we really focused on it for 21 days, we're going to make a massive amount of difference. And then we can take those same skills that we learned to make a difference in that one area of life into the others. And some of us might go, okay, well, we can do 3 areas of life in that space of 21 days. It just depends. But personally, I think I'm going to, in order to practice the skill, because I don't want to confuse myself anymore. I want to be able to be really focused on this one area. Is I'm going to choose the area of wealth and finances, and then focus on it for 21 days. And then look at another area of life, and then maybe choose another area of life. And then maybe the next area of life doesn't take that long, because once we've put enough focused attention onto that area of life, and we've developed the habits, which are the actions that we take in that area of life that doesn't take a lot of energy, then we can be assured that things will become a lot smoother and that things will happen a lot easier. It's in the beginning when we haven't created those habits, those perpetual ways of being, and we haven't created the emotional strength and the understanding and the belief systems and the trust and the faith that we can actually achieve that it's really hard. And that's why it requires a lot of focused attention and a lot of focus in order to shift those patterns of thinking, those patterns of belief, those beliefs that you can't do it, those beliefs that you sabotage yourself. So
Do a lot of them overlap one another as well, in a sense of like you're saying about how you spend 21 days working about how you can work on your wealth, and can it overlap other areas of your life in terms of like, so when you work on that part of it, it's then
yeah,
you're also observing and processing and accepting different situations that may be weighing you down previously in your life. um, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So
because
then it makes it easier, it
yeah,
builds that foundation, doesn't it?
yeah, because everything is going to have a multiple impact on all areas of your life. So your health is going to have an impact, like even the fact that you chose a goal, you focused on it, you took the effort to make it happen, it's going to give you a certain sense of confidence. That's going to give you confidence that you can achieve the other goals, like the health goals that you set for yourself. And even the wealth goals is going to have an impact on your health goals, because now you're going to be able to buy the organic food that you wanted to in order to achieve your health goals. So all of them are going to be interrelated. If you achieve your wealth goal, maybe you can travel somewhere, you can see, and that's going to have an impact on your relationships. They all do sort of obviously overlap. They're not like specific succinct areas of life. But I think, you know, it's no use if you're doing really well in relationships. I don't think it's wise to choose that area to focus on initially, because generally in life, the most satisfied people, the most happy people, the most fulfilled people are the people who have a balance in all areas of life. They have good friendships, they have good finances, their health is pretty good, their business is pretty good, their relationship with their closest partner is really good, their relationship with their kids is very good. Um, Generally, if you have one area of life that is an absolute disaster, it makes pretty much sense to focus on that area, or that's lower than the others, um, because that's going to have, I guess, the biggest impact on the rest of the other areas of life. So yeah, I think with the 21-day challenge, so what it's going to consist of is that process of choosing a goal that we and an area of life that you're going to focus on, plus a little bit of coaching in terms of mindset, and then support around actual implementation. And if we can do that on a consistent basis for 21 days, then one will have learned the process of manifestation, and two, we will have made progress in one of those areas of life, and we'll be a lot clearer, because we can. It's so simple, we can become a lot clearer on where we're headed. Because if we're clear on where we're headed, life becomes much less anxious. You're a lot less anxious. You're much more clearer. You know where you're going. As long as you take consistent action, then you're going to achieve it. So one of those teachings that Mel Robbins gives, which makes a lot of sense, is that oftentimes people do stuff like vision boards. So vision boards are great. Like, you do cut out pictures of beautiful houses and millions of dollars and, the beautiful girlfriend and, palm trees and stuff like that. And, at least you've taken action, but, how often does that actually lead into tangible results? And it's probably not very often, because if you're sitting in a one bedroom, flat, and then you're looking at your vision board and your vision board is showing you like a house, overlooking the ocean, the place where you are and the place where that is there's such a distance that it can actually be demotivating. It'll actually make you less inclined to actually follow that goal, because you'll feel the pain of the distance between you and that goal, the thing that you really, really want. So the way she approaches the concept of manifesting is really interesting, because what she does is she thinks about, okay, for example, you can have a goal of, okay, I want to be healthy. And in order to be healthy, I want to be able to run 25 kilometers. And so I'm going to envisage, okay, at the end of this year, like in 365 days, I'm going to have run 25 kilometers. I can run regularly 25 kilometers, no problem. You're not like sitting there every single day thinking about yourself running 25 kilometers, visualizing yourself running 25 kilometers. That's not what you do. What you're doing is you're envisaging yourself waking up in the morning when it's really cold, it's raining, you're tired, you're visioning yourself every single detail of getting up, even though it's cold, getting up, even though it's dark, opening the door and the wind is rushing, the rain is driving against you. You're feeling like anything but doing that. And that's what you're visualizing. You're not visualizing the end goal, because it's those little steps, there's those moments when you would normally give up that stop you from getting to that end goal. Because there's no doubt that if you put enough effort in to do the running every single day, that at the end of the year, you'd be able to run 25 kilometers if that was your goal. And then all the benefits that would get, you'd be more healthy, you'd be more fit, blah, blah, blah. But it's when we envisage the goal of us running 25 kilometers and then we wake up, it's cold, it's dark, that's when we get stopped. So it's really interesting the way she does it. And also, like, I've seen other guys do it as well. Paul Mahoney, who has a goal for himself in a particular area of life in 10 years' time. Then he breaks that goal down into, okay, so what, in order to achieve that goal in 10 years' time, what do I need to have done in 5 years' time? What do I need to have done in a year's time? What do I have to have done every single month up until that year in order to achieve that goal in the year? What do I have to achieve every single week in that first month? What do I have to achieve every single day in that first week? So you're breaking the massive goal, which is far into the future, into bite-sized chunks, and you have a very, very clear goal in order to achieve that thing way down into the future. And then you can understand that it's with consistent action over an extended period of time, there's no way that that's not going to become true. It's exactly the way Tony Robbins started out and became this massive success. Is that the story is that he sat on a train going from, I think it was Europe to Siberia or China. The other side of China was like a 5-day train ride or something like that. And during that train ride, the only thing he did, he sat down, he mapped out his goals, and he mapped out exactly how he was going to make every single one of those goals achievable, the exact steps he needed to take in order to make that happen. Now, it sounds like a lot of work, and it probably is. And beyond that, it's going to require every single day having those goals, reading those goals, being very clear on those goals, and doing the actions that it's going to take in order to achieve them. And that's the thing. That's the difference between somebody who can achieve something and somebody who just gives up. Somebody who's a novice gardener and somebody who's an expert gardener. An expert gardener is willing and prepared to put the work in order to make it happen. A novice gardener wakes up and would rather, sit and watch EastEnders or, play PlayStation or read a book. They're dedicated, they think about it, but they don't actually do it. So it's in the process of actually do it. Okay. So in order to actually achieve something, we know, one, we have to put enough planning into it. We have to know exactly what we want. Like, exactly. Like, if we know we're going to do this in a year's time, we're going to work back in time and have steps that we're going to take from then to now, day by day steps in order to get there. Then we have to put consistent action and a positive attitude in order to get there. And that's consistently every single day, looking at the goal, rewriting the goal, changing it if we need to change it, but we're really clear on where we're going. Really, really, really clear. And that's how we're going to become expert gardeners as opposed to novice gardeners.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's very clear. Makes, you think, I think, well, of course, why don't we do that? But yeah. Yes.
So let me ask you, what's your experience of gardening so far, guys?
Well, I haven't got a garden at the moment because I live in a flat, but in the past I wasn't a very good gardener. I played about with it. I'd like to be a better gardener.
Well, that makes sense, right? That intermediate gardening stuff makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really does. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and looking in the mirror and speaking to the mirror and then expecting it to reflect back what we want, that makes sense too.
Yeah, we look at the mirror and we go, you can't be reflecting that back. Like, why are you doing that? You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. And in the very act of doing that, we're sending more of the same energy to the mirror.
Yeah, 100%. It's like don't focus on the black cat, but you're focused on the black cat, and it's like that's ultimately like what you're doing. Like you're focusing on what you don't want rather than what you do want. So you have to be mindful of the words you use,
Yes.
because our words are spells as well. So
Yes,
we have to remember that. And
absolutely.
yeah, so we have to focus rather than don't look somewhere else or something. You know what I mean? Like there's a better way to phrase things.
Yeah, because there's that other teaching from Mel Brooks, which I heard again. You've heard of that part of the brain called the RAS.
I think so. Yeah.
So the RAS is the reticular activating system.
Oh.
The entire sort of function or the whole reason for being of the RAS is what it does is it takes our reality. Our reality, there are millions and billions and billions and billions and billions of pieces of information coming to us at this very moment from multiple dimensions and we are seeing and processing a very small slither of the actual reality that's happening. It's the RAS, the reticular activating system. Its only job is to take reality and chunk it down into the amount of information that we can actually process, because otherwise it would just blow our minds, it would get completely overwhelmed, and we would like just blow up.
Yeah.
So it's exactly that part of the brain that when we buy a car, a red, Mini, all of a sudden we see red Minis everywhere. Or we think about we're going to buy a new computer, and all of a sudden Facebook is sending us ads for that computer. We mentioned that we might want to do, a plant medicine, and all of a sudden we hear somebody talking about that plant medicine.
Absolutely. Synchronicity, isn't it?
Yeah, and we call it synchronicity, but it is like we're calling it in.
Yes.
And it's the ability of this reticular activating system to hone in to specific bits of information because you've told it that you're interested in that.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why you say, don't think of a black cat. The minute you think of a black cat, that's all your brain can think about is the black cat. The minute you mention it, because
you're putting energy in that direction.
You told your RAS what to focus on, just by the fact of saying it.
Yeah.
So if I hang around really negative people and I listen to the news and stuff like that, again, the RAS is taking that in and saying, okay, well, that's what you want to create. So it's going to be more of that.
That's what television programming is all about, isn't it? Feeding information that they want you to focus on.
Absolutely. So either we're creating a reality or they're going to create it for us.
Yeah.
It's so intrinsic, the television programming. There's so many nuances to it. Like, I don't watch TV, but my parents do. And when I walk past the TV, I wonder, like, wow, like I don't really want to be like watching that. And it would just be like a normal show, but like the show would have so many different elements that I'm like, I don't really want to expose myself to this energy, and they're just blind to it, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy how people can, like my parents used to watch the news like literally 24 hours. The news used to be on even if they weren't in the room. The TV was just on
crazy
all the time.
That's crazy. Yeah, wow. Anyway, can I add to the garden situation? So I have been a gardener for the last 2 years with my mom in the local area, and I actually have had such an amazing experience being a gardener, and it's allowed me to learn a lot regarding being in nature and like removing weeds and planting seeds. Literally in your life as well, like removing the weeds, the cobwebs of your brain, like and your life, and really metaphor, like it's powerful, and it's really nourishing. Really get your hands in the soil because you really then feel you're physically doing the work. So it's like your reality, 100%, and it's allowed me to work through myself because nature's so healing, and when you work on nature, it comes back to you. So yeah, it's amazing to be one with nature in that way. But yeah, I've now reduced my hours and I'm now focusing more on music because I feel like it came at the right time to initiate that.
Yeah, it's I think who was it? Who's the guy that developed permaculture? He said all the world's problems could be solved in a garden. And it makes so much sense.
It does. It does.
That's interesting. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
You can learn so much in a garden. So much. Yeah. It's very cool.
Yeah, it can be healing. It's got your herbs for healing. It's got everything. It's got everything in a garden.
Yeah. And actually the physical work of being a gardener, you have to be physically fit to actually do the job, especially tending a garden all throughout the season. And it can be grueling sometimes with the weather as well. So you have to have that discipline and that attention and mindset that you can get through it, because ultimately it's temporary as well. So it always will change. So you have to remember that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Huh? But you're an expert gardener then, yes?
I'm not like knowing every plant, but like I can know a little bit about plants, but I can identify between a weed and a plant. But then a funny thing my mum says, she's more of an expert. She loves it. Like she would watch TV shows regarding gardening, and go to actually the shows in London regarding like Chelsea Fair and stuff. But it's fascinating when you think about a plant. She said, every plant is a weed, whether you want it or not.
But
Which is
yeah,
really interesting.
yeah, weeds are just plants that we don't particularly want.
Yeah,
They're all,
it's fascinating.
they don't think they're weeds, do they?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But then again, like it's an interesting thing when I was a gardener. It's like I felt like I was getting quite emotional with like certain plants because like there would been times where, as you're a gardener, you're having to take away, you're having to cut down bushes that people don't want or trees that they don't want. It's like these are living still, like, but they don't want it, so you have to then remove it, and it's like you have to then like just accept it and just know that it's, energy is never created or destroyed, and it's just going back into the earth in a sense. It would always come back.
Mm.
So yeah, but I was always getting emotional. I was like, no, this is such a beautiful plant. Like, why would you do it? Well, it's what it is.
Mm. So how are you guys in terms of manifestation? Like, what are you, in terms of manifestation, have you explored it before? Do you spend any time? Have you done any goal setting, vision boarding, that type of thing?
Um, well, I've done all sorts of inner work and, shadow work and all that sort of thing to try and, make my future better, and get rid of the reasons why it wasn't happening. And I have done a bit of manifestation before, and yeah, I did do work on something, and it did sort of work, but I wasn't obviously not. I don't know how to do it properly, so yes, I've come to a sort of a point in my life that I've got to make things better for my future before it's too late, because it's never too late. But I need now to really focus on getting the rest of my life right for me.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought when this came up, perfect timing actually. Apart from, do we have to? We don't have to tune in at the time you put the video out.
No, I think
Because
the way it's going to go is I'll make a short video with an exercise to do, some instructions. I'm trying to like see, how long to make it. I just have to go with how I feel and what I feel for that day. Give enough information so that people feel like they're going to make progress, but then also not like give people too much information because there's so much to give
yes,
that they feel that they're going to be overwhelmed. So it's trying to find that balance, like, 5, 10 minutes, half an hour a day max, which is, because there's some action to take, there's some things to think about, and then there's like some learnings some understandings as well. So it's
yeah. So
always,
it's just because of to fit in with work as well, isn't it? This is the thing. I work full time, and well, like a lot of us probably do, and it's like fitting it in around work because. But there's always plenty of time. There's always times during the day when I could do it, but it doesn't necessarily fit into a definite time scale. But
yeah,
there's always I've always got plenty of time where I can do it, but it's just not necessarily during the working day.
yeah,
In the
and that's
evening or
what I mean.
first thing.
Everything will be recorded, so we'll record everything,
Lovely.
like short little recordings, and then a little exercise. And then, we just stack those up over the course of the 21 days, and then try and keep consistent so that, but as a whole, it should be quite a good manual for how to manifest. And then if you focus on, just use it as a practice, focus on one area, something, and then you can apply it to other areas like afterwards.
Absolutely.
You know, instead of trying to do everything at once, oh, I want to like completely change my whole life, I'm going to do goals in all 12 areas. Yeah, it's just gonna, you're gonna get overwhelmed, confused, and you're not gonna do anything, right? You're just gonna get.
Well, I just know from what my life, with my work, because I work in a healing art. I mean, I'm an osteopath and I
I'm
do
so
cranial
sorry.
sacral work.
Okay.
And
Sorry, Bobby.
and I
Is it
think by just removing one obstacle from a patient's, somebody's in pain, if you remove one area of pain, the rest seems to be released. It's like anything in life, isn't it? It all works together. Everything's holistic. So just working on one little bit then will, creates the rest to improve too, like you were saying a bit earlier. So I think that makes total sense.
Isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Yeah.
Yes. So that sounds
Cool.
really exciting actually.
Yeah, so it's going to be a really good exploration, a really good, very valuable, like, delve into the subject. And let's see what happens. I need feedback from you guys. Like, is it working? Is it too much? Is it too little? So it's almost like a give and a take, a push and a pull. Like, it's an orchestration between myself as a facilitator or somebody who's guiding it, and you guys who are experiencing it. I'm also experiencing it as well. And between us all, we're going to find a path. And at the end of the 21 days, we'll have reached somewhere and be further along the further along the path of going from somebody who's a novice gardener to somebody who's an expert gardener. We're going to have to understand the process more. We're going to have put more effort in. We're going to have get better at choosing our plants, get better at understanding how much work we need to put in. And then, and we'll be better more along the path. We might not be an expert yet, but we'll know the steps that we need to take in order to get to that expert level. And we'll be further along the path than we were when we started.
Wonderful.
It's really interesting. When it comes to like actually doing the work, distractions could come in many angles, and they can also be very elusive. And you then like don't know until it's too late sometimes about these distractions. And even though we've been conditioned to like do what is best for others as well in our life, can also weigh us down, because that then can stop us from actually doing what's best for us, for ourselves. And I've heard of something when people say about manifesting is like the monk mode. What can you say about that, Somesh? Do you know about the monk mode? Like just like doing what, like you like just like literally removing all distractions and just focusing on that one task. What do you think about that? Like when you regards to like maybe not going out, socializing with people in the sense of like, yeah, so you're just staying in and doing the work that you need to do.
Yeah, well, put it this way: the more effort, the more focus, the more attention, the more energy you put into it, the more you're going to get out. It's like anything in life, isn't it? Whether you have to go to the extent of, depends on how important it is to you. If it's really important to you, like if you're suffering with a health condition that you're going to die in, you've been told you've got like 3 weeks to live, that's an urgent situation. It makes sense to spend every single moment, trying to sort that situation out, right? You're going to spend every minute of the day like detoxing, taking herbs, meditating, whatever it takes in order to turn that situation around. You're not going to go to the pub. You don't have time to go to the pub. You don't have time to go to watch a movie. It's how urgent is the situation for you. Like, how important is this goal for you? And that's why we have to get really clear on not only the goal, but why do we want the goal? Like, why is it? What is it? If we get clear within ourselves why we want that goal, we're going to be much more likely to achieve it. And that's part of the exercises are actually just getting really clear on why we want that goal, and making sure that we keep clarity on why we want that goal, because we might think about that car and then forget about why we want it, and then it loses its energy, it loses the thing. The other example I had was have you ever like had the thought of doing something and it had so much energy behind it that you almost turned the impossible into possible and you made that reality manifest? And I've had that too with stuff that I got so excited and so inspired. There was so much energy behind it that it totally came true, even though there was no, it made no sense in the moment that it would ever become true. Thought about it, didn't have money, didn't have time, but because I was so excited about making it happen, I made it happen.
Well, this is it. And it's the exciting, that's the energy that you need to remember to attune to. The excitement is the secret in order to actually be a powerful manifester, because then you really like, that's when you understand and like at the atomic level of actually like energy, that exciting energy is the most potent energy in the universe. So that's how we can then really then like in a combination with like the flow state, being excited in the flow state, that's when you just align to like divine energy.
Yeah, because energy, emotion is energy in motion, right?
Mm.
The more emotion you can put into it, the more excitement you can put into it, the more joy and passion or upliftment, excitement is really the word. The more energy, the more emotion, the more chance, because you can mold reality. You're never going to mold reality if you're like, oh, that's really exciting. Can't wait to go on that holiday. That's not going to happen, right? You know that's not going to happen. If you're like, I can't wait to go on that holiday. Oh my God, it's going to be so amazing. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and this. No, it's way more chance it's going to happen. Like emotion. The more emotion you put into it, and that's why when I felt that, it's like I didn't even try. Like I was so excited, like it's an automatic thing. I knew it was going to happen. It was like it was going to become a reality. It's those things that we try to think about, like, oh, I want that car. I'd really like to have a Lamborghini. But there's no emotion, there's no life behind it because you don't really want it. It's just a thought. Somebody else has put that thought into your head and you've like regurgitated it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what do I want and why do I want it? And that's going to give you the continual motivation if you really know and you keep on motivating yourself with the reasons behind you why you want it.
Yeah.
I want it because of this and this and this. I want it because of this, and keep on reminding yourself about that. Yeah, this is going to be a very like interesting journey. This, guys, it's going to be like a full-on adventure. I'm going to be really interesting to see the results that you achieve, that everybody achieves, and let's just see. Let's just see what happens, and let's see how far we can do. The more we want it, the more it's going to become possible. The more we're going to achieve. If we really, really want it, we're going to make it happen. So let's get really clear on what we want and why we want it, put all the energy behind it, and by the end of this 21 days, we're going to be in a completely different place.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you
Thank
think, Peter?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I've just been I've got somebody who's been in hospital. My daughter's been upset, so I've been listening avidly, and I understand a lot what you guys have done. I've done things like Create Your Destiny, William Whitecloud stuff, shamanic stuff, and various bits and bobs along the way. 21 days meditation, Deepak Chopra. I tend to be a stayer, so we'll see. He says now, but it's great to put yourself in an uncomfortable space, because comfort comes from being uncomfortable. Growth comes from pain. Success comes from consistency, and it's about aligning with the energy and the environment, and being open to that. And we'll see how it goes, because it's great not to necessarily know what to have, but to be clear on what you want and create your future is what we're here to do, and to be better gardeners by the sounds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have beautiful gardens.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can you imagine walking outside and it's just like beautiful plants everywhere? We're picking flowers and fruit everywhere we go. That's what we're trying to achieve, right? We're trying to get out there and create a reality. Like, can you imagine it? So powerful that wherever we went, there was a food forest everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, beautiful plants and beautiful places where we could eat food and fresh vegetables everywhere. That's what we're trying to achieve, which is reality, peace on earth, everybody in a happy state of bliss. It's achievable.
Mm.
You know,
We're on our way to that
that's what we're doing.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's happening.